What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on D's analysis. We're going to be looking at MicroStrategy, doing our daily update on MSTR. We're going to be going over indicators, price action, and just how we see MicroStrategy as well, along with a couple things that are Bitcoin related and things related with S&P 500. So things have been extremely bearish. All the bearish scenarios seem to be playing out. It was starting to look extremely good. We were definitely very bullish on this move here, but then we started to switch a little bearish once we broke this level. So we were wondering if this was just a retest of this, but it was a retest and then a dead cat bounce, and then we got a strong wick right here off of this horizontal level of support and resistance, and now we've fallen and closed back within this downward sloping trend line. So price is now back to this region here. So all of this was a fake breakout back in this region, and now we're looking at horizontal levels of support and resistance. And if we were to look at levels, we have a minor level here, very minor. So if price were to break down, it'd probably stutter there. And then the next major level of support would be around here. That's what we'd be looking at. So we could probably see something where prices, if we get a break and close of this zone here, we break, close, retest, we'll probably stutter here for a quick second, maybe chop a little, then we're going to try and make our way to that next level here. And maybe we get a nice V-shaped recovery, or we chop a little bit before we make our way back up. That's what I could see happening. Maybe we get a double bottom or something like that before we get our recovery. But it also makes me wonder, when you look to the left, because remember, whenever you're doing price action, you're always looking to the left. So when you look to the left, between this zone and this zone here, this coincides with this old high. And that kind of ties together with what's happened on Bitcoin and S&P 500. So as you can see here on Bitcoin, here's price it hit 74.4. The old high was 73.7. So we almost swept that high. So we essentially kind of swept it. We could say we swept that one. And then when you look here on the S&P 500, you can see that we're getting back to this region where, or actually no, we did sweep this old high. So we knocked out this, we knocked out all of this move, and now we're sweeping this old high we just did. So I wonder if the same thing's happening on MicroStrategy, where we're sweeping the high of this move over here. So we'll find out, of course, with time. But our main focus over here was breaking this primary trend line, getting a retest, and then trying to break through this secondary trend line. But now this is kind of in the back. We're going to take that to the back. We're not going to be worried about that right now. Now our focus, again, is back to this primary trend line. So we'll drag that out a little bit further. And now it looks like price is just going to continue to compress. And we'll see where things go from there. We did break underneath this long-term trend line. So I guess if we tighten it up, maybe we just drew it out a little bad. Maybe if we move it somewhere like that, we're still outside of it. But yeah, that's definitely not what we want to see. I mean, granted, this is a weekly, so the best thing we could see happening would be a green engulfing candle to reclaim this and get back inside of this trend line. We want to hold this gray trend line because that's the long-term trend line here. So maybe this is just a daily close. Maybe we get a nice green candle and push back into it and then make our way up. But let's see if we sweep down and touch these old highs at 200. Hopefully not, but as we all know, MicroStrategy moves very fast. I know everything's been super bearish in the entire market, and MicroStrategy is no exception. Bitcoin's no exception. Bitcoin was holding up with the S&P 500, and now it looks like it's been following it pretty well. It was just like a somewhat of a delayed move. So we'll see what ends up happening. On the SMAs, we got what I think is not a very good sign. We got a close underneath the 200-day SMA. That is a long-term trend line that we want to hold. This green trend line, when you look, normally we get a strong bounce off of that. So every time we come to that, we normally get a strong move. But when you fall underneath it, so last time we had a major crack underneath the 200, we fell 80%. But we could also see where we've fallen underneath it and we shot right back above multiple times. So maybe that's what's happening here. But you can see that these are key levels, this green and orange. When you break above it, things get crazy. When you break below it, things also get crazy. So 40% drop and so on. You can kind of get the idea. The 200 is a major level. So hopefully this is just a small close underneath and we get a nice little green candle to replace this red candle like nothing ever happened. And then on the weekly, it turns into a nice wick, which would be very bullish. But right now, bears are definitely in control. And this thing looks like it's going to go much lower, but we never know because price action is always funny on MicroStrategy. For instance, if we take a look here at this red candle, you look at 2 days later and look, massive green candle, another massive green candle. So that's why I say it. Price action is very funny on MicroStrategy. It's not like your traditional stocks. It moves and creates candles that are very odd with gapping up and down very consistently. So on the weekly, we are at a critical point right here. We're about to lose the 50 week if we close underneath to here, but we're still on the weekly. So we still have more. We have 2 more days and 9 hours. So let's see if we get a nice wick and then our green candle starts from here and we get a nice move up. That would be amazing. That would be the best case scenario. How likely is that? I'm not too sure. It's probably not too likely, but it is possible. A nice wick and a solid body would be the most bullish scenario ever. It would be a single wick and this entire wick right here turning into a nice green body. On the daily Bollinger Bands, we got to close outside of the green band. We normally don't spend too much time outside of it. So let's see what the next move is. We normally spend minimum or max like 2 days outside of that thing before getting a nice move to the upside. So we'll see if we get a sharp move from here or if we want to keep hugging this green band along the way. But I would be ready for some kind of move to the upside. Could be a dead cat bounce, but I would be ready for some kind of upward movement, at least a slight amount. And now we're touching this green band again that we've had 3 retests off of. So let's see if this turns into a nice wick, just how we've had here 3 times prior. In terms of the RSI, we're just extremely bearish. We're building strength to the downside, or we're just losing strength to the upside, whichever way you want to see it. It is just extremely bearish. We got that bounce off of this moving average and just have been tanking ever since. So there's no strength behind price to the upside, and it's headed towards oversold territory. The weekly, we kind of have the same idea where we got a dead cat bounce. It looked like we were trying to break out initially, and then that move has failed. So when you draw a line like this, well, actually, so it looks like this was a breakout. It looks like it's trying to fail, but maybe this is just retesting this trend line right here before we get our move up. So maybe we see something where we make it to this trend line and then make it to this trend line, and then we get something where we move up from there on the RSI, on the weekly RSI. That'd be nice to see. That'd be perfect, actually. On the MACD, we were creating higher highs, higher lows. We created that bullish momentum. We got above the 0 line, so we're in positive territory. And now we cracked back below, and now it's looking like it's starting to create that bearish momentum. The blue fell under the orange, and the volume's increasing. As you can see, these red candles are getting larger. So now it looks like the move is starting to sustain to the downside with an increase in volume. And here it looks like it's just a continued move to the downside on the weekly. The candles were dwindling down, but now it looks like this last red candle is actually showing an increase in volume in from the last 3-4 weeks. This is actually now a larger volume candle compared to these. So an increased strength to the downside. When we pull our fibs from this level here to up here, we have gotten a perfect play off the golden zone, bouncing off of it, and now it's acting as resistance, and we got this strong wick to the downside. So this golden zone is always in the mix of something, and now it looks like it's being a ceiling for price, and it's shooting price down. Now let's see the golden zone when we pull it down a little bit further on a larger time frame. Let's see where we stand with that. We're right at the bottom of the golden zone. So let's see if this is a key moment, because we've had 3 strong wicks off of this zone. So let's see if this thing kind of repeats itself and it respects the 618, which is a very key level. We do not want to lose the 618, especially on this large time frame. So maybe we get another wick, just how we've seen here, these 3 candles. Or if we don't get that wick, then we get that close retest of the 618 and push down further. Not what I want to see, but it's always possible. So keep that in mind. In terms of Bitcoin, we have swept this old high. This is nothing new though, where we take a look here, we can see we've swept, we broke out here. We've had, so if you look, you're like, okay, we broke out here. It was a 36% move. Everybody's on top of the world. And then next thing you know, it ends up dropping 21% and then rallying up. And then we've had another instance like that in the middle of a bull market where we rallied from this point on here 185%, and then we dropped. So this is something that has happened prior. This isn't anything different in my opinion, but I could be completely wrong. But we'll say from here, this leg up, we ran 108%, and now we have dropped 32%. So this is still within the realm of what normally happens. I don't think this time is different, but I could be wrong. Maybe we lose this level and we come all the way down to here, and I still think it would be intact. The trend would still be intact, but I don't think that's very likely to see 61,000, but anything's possible. So once the momentum gets going, Bitcoin can fall for a while, but this thing can also turn around in the snap of a finger, and then everybody's going to forget about this move. Once we're at all-time highs and beyond, people are going to forget this thing even happened. The S&P 500 has dropped back into bear market territory. So bear market territory starts right here at 20%. This is the cash index, by the way. So 20% is considered bear market territory at 49, like 49.14, something like that. We're at 48.94. So we're back in bear market territory. We'll see how it plays out. Let's see if we get a sharp move to the upside. We do have some big economic data. I think we have CPI coming out tomorrow morning, and we have PPI on Friday. So maybe those, if those reports come out well, maybe price can starting to get a little bit of a breather from this downturn, or that ignites a further move down. So we'll see what happens. But be ready for both scenarios, of course. You always have to be ready for both scenarios because we never know what's actually going to happen. Anybody who says they know what's going to happen is a liar, and if they have extreme confidence, they're full of crap. So MSTR divided by Bitcoin, we broke out. We had a nice breakout. I mean, this was super bullish. We broke underneath it. It did our normal thing that we always talk about. You break underneath, you get your close, push up, get a retest, and it's pushed down, which we spoke about previously as well, saying that maybe this is what's happening. We started to say that once we got this red candle, where like maybe this is that push down to get a retest off of this downward sloping trend line. And it looks like that's exactly what played out. So let's see if MSTR starts to overtake Bitcoin in terms of strength. But right now, it looks like MicroStrategy is starting to bend the knee to Bitcoin, which we do not want to see. We want to see this breakout, retest, and we get a bounce here. That's what we want to see. But if we don't, then we could see something where price ends up breaking back through, and we start compressing again against this horizontal level of support and resistance and this downward sloping trend line. We don't want to compress anymore. We want to just break out. Hopefully this isn't a fake out like we see on MicroStrategy. This was a fake breakout, and now we're back within this move. Temporarily, it's a fake breakout because on the weekly, we could be completely wrong, or not wrong, but we could actually just get a wick, and then it wasn't a fake breakout. If we hold this level, we wick off of this, and we get a solid close with the candle, or with the body of the candle pushing upward. Back to Bitcoin's chart. With Global Liquidity, I do believe that we could be taking off relatively soon. We are on week 14, 98 days. Let's see where this goes. We are definitely getting close to that window where they should be turning around. And if you look at this move, think about this, like I said, we're right here because the move hasn't even started to the upside yet. Look at this leg that we have going on. Let me look at this compared to the other legs. Let's see if we can kind of measure. So if we were to draw this one out here, so this level, take this. So the first leg was bigger than the second leg by a little bit, and the first and second leg are still smaller than this move right here, because we're already surpassed it here on this peak, and this peak's even higher. So maybe this is about to be a crazy move, larger than what we've seen here. And when you look at this leg here, it was this move here, which was up to this wick. Ooh, so it was almost 100%, 97%. And then, I'm sorry, this move here was this move, which was 91%. And then this leg here was this move here, which was 107%. So if these two are smaller than this one, then let's see what happens. Because remember I said the first leg, which was this one, was smaller than this one. And if you see the percentage gain, this was 107, this one was 91. And this one's larger than both of these. So what if our move is a little bit larger? And what if we end up getting something where from the bottom, we get something over 107%, where we go up, I don't know, let's say 125. And 125 translated into MicroStrategy, I usually multiply it by 3.75 when it's a long sustainable move. Because when the moves first start, MicroStrategy's usually doing like 2.5, 2.7. As the move gets longer and sustainable over like 2-3 months, then you can see it start to really multiply, and that's when you start seeing that 3.75 move. So you're talking about a 460% gain potentially, which will put us at 1,300, which lines up with all of our price targets in terms of this measuring up, using that flagpole to measure this one, which was pretty spot on, move it up a little bit, and then using this flagpole to measure this move. So right around this gray box here, which also lines up with our fib, which we've pulled multiple times. We've talked about, we'll see if it plays out. We get that 2618 to 2272. We pull that to the next one. We got from this level to the bottom here, and that lines up perfect with these boxes. So we'll see if that all plays out, and I'll keep you guys posted. See you in the next one.